I'm walking along. It's minding my own damn business, I have to say.
Maybe for the first time in a while.
And I hear that laugh, and you know what that means? It's time for Dewey Freeman and Mark Sylvester and the Elder Council. How are you, sir?
I am extremely well this morning. How are you?
So my game I'm going to play today is how many times I can hear that laugh.
Okay, you got two.
For those of you keeping score at home, so you know, I interview people. That's part of what I do, and I do a live stream on Wednesdays for TEDx Santa Barbara. And in the pre-call, in trying to calm down my guest, and this incredible woman on talking about female entrepreneurs and artisans down in Oaxaca, Mexico, and how her organization is working to get them stable financially and get their art out into the world. And I said, there's a little game I play. I want to keep track of how many times I get you to say, wow, that's a really good question. I got 5. My record's 6. And because what that means is I'm paying attention, and I'm on purpose trying to find a way into the story of this person's life that hasn't been asked and answered a million times before. Because I can find all that stuff out. But if I really look at someone and really listen to them, and then my curiosity meter is already turned up to 12 always, I'm going to hear something in what they said and go, oh, what was that? I want to pull that thread.
Right.
What was that? Because they sped by it. They've lived that, whatever that thing was that just went, blah, 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 blah. They just gave me the canned answer. We all do that. I want to unpack that and say, well, back up there, Bonzo. What was that bit? So today I thought we'd talk about curiosity and how we exercise it.
So when you walk in with a curious mind, and actually what just struck me was from a Buddhist perspective, it's called a beginner's mind.
You're reading my mind.
You're welcome. And that's 3, now 4. What's that mean to you? What is your felt sense inside you, inside your body, when you're coming in with that perspective? Wonder?
Yeah, it's a felt sense of wonder. I'm working with a client who sells maps to teachers use maps to teach geography, social studies, and history. And I came up with, like, why are you doing this? Like, what are you really trying to do? And it's to help we came up with through this being curious was teachers love to instill and accentuate the sense of wonder that kids have when they see or learn something for the first time. So that's where I'm getting that.
Got it.
Right. And as a teacher, when you're looking at a student and you see the light bulb go, you're like, that's, oh man, I love that. And so because I can identify with that, because I lived my life, to see how much wonder can I find in the day.
So if I'm getting you right, you literally walk through your day almost with an energetic opening of wonder. Is that accurate?
As much as I can, because I, like everybody else, am just speeding through life at 800 miles an hour.
Right.
Right. So there is that. However, when the spirit moves and you sit, because I think it comes from stopping, taking a big breath and settling, and then just looking around and engaging your beginner's mind and looking at, like, wow, look at all of this. Last night I was at a concert and just re-experiencing what it was like to be in a very large crowd of people outdoors. We were outdoors. And I said to Kimberly, I said, right now I have to tell you I'm torn, because I can see how everybody is engaging with one another. And a lot of people you can see people hugging, they hadn't seen each other in forever. And Santa Barbara is a small town. And I said, and on one dimension, I kind of want to be that very social creature. And the other hand, I said, we've just had such a great week, just you and I working out of the house and ping-ponging off one another all week long in what we do. And it's been that way, very intense, for 2.5 years, right? Because of the lockdown. I said, right, I don't want to give that up for that. So it was just an interesting understanding of it, but I'm being curious of how I'm feeling in that situation. So curiosity is in everything. Like, why am I getting that vibe? And then being able to talk about it is just, it's interesting, and it's about being curious.
So one of the pieces that, and again, many times when you and I talk, almost actually virtually every time when you and I talk, my sort of brain explodes. One is, and I love your word wonder. Every morning I go do a sit spot. And sometimes, depending on the morning, like this morning was short. My Kimberly is left for the day, actually for the week, to go spend some time with her family. And but every morning when I go out, I have this unbelievable sense of wonder and awe of just as I walk out my front door. And then that's when my curiosity kicks in. Like I am curious about, there's a little wren house, and can I see I can hear the little babies in it, but I have not seen their little beaks yet. There's a hawk flying over. There's actually, periodically, we have wild turkeys visiting us. We have, unbelievably beautiful grosbeaks. And also, as I look up my hill, I'm always curious about how my horses are doing. And I have two things. One is, and part of what you've talked about this morning is the beauty of, whether it's the beauty of being with your Kimberly, surrounded or in the midst of thousands of other people, or even, I don't know how many were there, but a lot.
There were 5,000 people there.
Oh, is that all? Of your closest friends?
Small, intimate little, I said to her, I looked around, I said, I've seen like 2 people I know. I've lived here for 50 years.
Yeah.
It's like, who are these people?
Who are these people? Where they come from? But the level of beauty of being, again, with 5,000 people in the setting you were, but also the level of beauty of your surroundings and the level of beauty of being with your wife. And like, how incredibly beautiful is that, to be able to spend that kind of time with the woman that you love. One of the things that has always struck me and this is an elder thing, and I've talked a little bit about this, is and before I say this, I'm in great health. I have no issues going on. But one of the things I'm going to miss is, when I'm not here any longer, is the beauty of nature and being outside.
You have, for those who may be new to listening to the elders, and we have a lot of new kids in the nation. Dewey lives on the side of a mountain, and is just surrounded, like, as you said, you walk out your front door, and in my world, you walk out your front door and you are on vacation. and that's where you get to live, right?
That is true.
And I live in a vacation spot. I live, 300-400 yards from the beach, from the Pacific Ocean, in Santa Barbara, California.
Your place is gorgeous.
And it's, I walk out and just take a walk around the neighborhood. And every day I try to get out and just do a big long lap in Montecito here. I go up to say hi to the Royals and Oprah and Ellen, and just, make sure they're okay. Just check in on them. But it's the, we consciously recognize the beauty of our surrounding, and take a moment to have gratitude. Still to this day, 50 years ago in August, I moved to Santa Barbara, and there isn't a day that goes by where I don't find a thing to have gratitude about. What's interesting as I'm thinking about the nature part, because I don't live on the side of a mountain. There's houses. There's a house 18 feet that way and 18 feet that way, and I have a kind of a walled garden. But I've brought in bird feeders and food and stuff. So I have squirrels, and there's a hawk that lives in the tree across the way, and there's chipmunks, and there's, I pay attention to all the kinds of birds, but it's because I'm curious about all of them, which kind of gets to why I love having my 9-year-old grandson come over, because he's seen everything for the first time as well. Right. So it's that sense. So here's my question. You were both naturally curious. What's it make you feel like when you run into people who aren't curious? Because there's people that are decidedly not curious.
One is, in the beginning, certainly it feels like there's a limitation to the contact that we're able to make
with that person,
with that particular person.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I'm going to guess this, well, I'm just going to go there. What my guess is that for those people who don't live in a place or a state of curiosity, well, my guess is that not very many people have been curious about them.
Oh.
And
so they don't have that's interesting. They don't have the experience of being the object of someone's curiosity.
Right. Of being, because literally the first time you and I spoke, and it was on Zoom, and I mean, just, we have a history now and have met each other in person, and will continue to do some things in person as well as Zoom with each other, is that conversation I walked away from with, oh my gosh, Mark is curious about virtually everything with me, and I am curious about virtually everything with Mark. I mean, I remember that conversation. Well, what about this? Oh my God, that is, oh, what about this? And then, oh, well, yeah, this is, I mean, it was like,
Yeah.
and it was literally the beginning of, I mean, I literally got off of that conversation lit up in the
Mm,
most positive way
mm,
possible.
mm,
And one of the things that's like totally interesting to me is how many people I come across who literally say, nobody asked me about anything.
mm.
And and also how many people don't know how to be curious and don't know how to pick up on certain words that someone else is saying to either ask about or make a statement about, to dive in deeper around being curious about somebody else in a relational way.
So I'm gonna, they don't know how to be curious. So I reached for I tried to find my other one. This is how curious I am. So maybe this will help people. So there's a book called The Big Book of Beautiful Questions. Go
Mm.
get it. It's a book about asking questions. Then there's these are called table topics, and you can see it fits in a little box. And I found these 20 years ago, and there's 50 of them, and I can pull out any question. Oh, pull out any question, use it as a conversation starter. So this
Very
one
nice.
says, how would you describe your perfect travel day? What a wonderful
Ooh.
question, right? Well, there's 100 of them in this little box. But then
Mhm.
I found this, and you can see this is a little more elaborate. It says 100 questions,
Oh, right, right, right.
and you just open it up, and I'm just going to pick whatever one I pick. That's the one we have. So you can see these big, amazing questions. And this one says, oh, there we go. What work of literature or art has directly influenced your life? So I think that um, not knowing how to be curious, like if you think it's interesting, and I think it's so interesting that I actually study curiosity. How
Yeah,
fucking
no,
meta
that's
is
amazing.
that, right?
Mhm.
You know, it's because I'm looking for more interesting ways to ask a question, because to the point of why you were lit up, and as was I, the if you're really curious, you're I want to know the answer. I want to know how you feel about the thing that I asked you, because and we've talked about this in relationships, especially with a new person I've not met or a new thing I've not enjoyed, like cymbidiums or animal husbandry or herbal, or whatever the thing is. It's not about me.
Right.
It's not
And
about me.
and relationally, many people do a thing now of I want to have my needs met versus saying, what do you need? Which is a question of curiosity.
Mhm.
The other thing is that many people, and I actually teach this from a therapeutic perspective, is how can you take a phrase that somebody has just says, whatever the phrase is, how can you take that and dive into that from a place of curiosity and a place of deepening with anybody? And it's actually, and as I'm thinking about this, I'm going to guess there's a similar exercise in improv. I'm going to guess that. Um,
I, are we on the fucking same brain channel today or what?
yeah, I think we are. Is the ability to, because I'll have people go say something and they'll go, the sky's blue. Well, I can take that statement and work with that and help somebody drop into oftentimes a very deep felt sense space. And part of it's questioning, and part of it's another kind of a leadership. So if somebody says the sky's blue, I can easily say, please close your eyes. Imagine the last time you sat under the bluest sky in the world.
Mm.
And let yourself sink into wherever that is. And when you're ready, make a statement. And about half the time, tears start running out of people's eyes.
Wow.
And then it's like, would you please share what's happening? Well, I was out in the middle of the desert, and on and on. And someone might say, or I was up in the mountains, or I just had surgery and I looked out the window of of my hospital room and saw the blue sky, and it's what helped me. I mean, you don't know where something like that's going to go.
Off of a very simple 5-word statement.
Very simple 5-word statement, and helping to guide somebody into something. And then people will say, well, and this is actually a true example. Somebody said, I looked out of my hospital room, and saw that the sky was blue, and I knew that I was going to be okay. And then it's like, then it's really easy to say, would you be willing to share what you were in the hospital for, and how afraid you were, and you can go 100 different ways with that. Well, I was in the hospital because I had a knee replacement, and I was in so much pain I didn't know what to do. And and you can just, it's almost like this stair step of dropping in deeper and deeper and deeper, of that level of curiosity with somebody. And I think that in our society, we get taught that people don't want to be curious about us.
You mentioned earlier about how this is like improv, and we had a chuckle because my whole life is asking questions, both professionally and just my hobby, and just like that curiosity. I'm curious. It defines questions.
Absolutely.
So what is one of the very first rules you learn in improv? Don't ask questions. So imagine, and my teacher, we talk about this a lot. It's the dichotomy of, I have to take my entire way of looking at the world and check that at the door when I walk into class. And tonight, when I walk on stage, Saturday night, we'll be performing. Because when I say, if I turn that into a question, why do you think the sky's so blue? I've put that's my initiation. I walk into, gosh, why do you think the sky's so blue? Now I've kind of forced my scene partner to come up with some answer, which is going to turn into some teaching scene, which isn't as fun for the audience, instead of coming out and saying, the sky is so blue, it reminds me of that time I was in the hospital and I opened my eyes and I saw the blue sky.
Exactly.
And now I've got an emotion and I have a statement, and I've given them something to react to, because improv is all about reacting. What life is all about reacting.
Right.
So you want to, and tell you what, that is a muscle that you have to get good at, because that's antithetical to how I live my life.
It's antithetical to how we think we're supposed to be too.
Yeah.
So piggybacking on what you're saying And I can see
You mean you're going to yes and what I said?
I'm going to yes and what you said. I can actually see in an improv teacher saying, don't ask a question. This is a piece. If people really want to be curious, this is a piece for people to learn. When we ask a question, especially a why kind of a question, that puts us in our head.
Mm.
And that stops an emotional process.
Wow. So when we ask I hope other people are writing this down. When we ask a why question, it puts us in our head
and
takes us out of our body.
It takes us out of our body and it stops an emotional process. Let me give you an example. If, and you and I have shared some very deep moments, and both of us at times have cried during different conversations. If you share something, a major loss, for instance, or a major concern, and you begin tearing up. If I say to you, Mark, why are you crying? What's going to happen?
I can think of several things, but I want to hear because this teaching moment is too important for me to ask.
Right. Well, what will happen is you'll have to stop whatever your process is and say, and go, oh, well, I'm crying.
Become analytical.
Right. And if I say to you, Mark, I see your tears. Even me saying that, what happens in your body right now?
I just relax and felt seen, right? Felt acknowledged.
Totally. And then you could go on and say, yeah, this is really hard. My best friend just got diagnosed with cancer. And so everyone knows I'm making these statements up. This is not, this is hypothetical. My best friend just got diagnosed with cancer and has 3 weeks to live. And it's like, oh, tell me about your friend, please. And, but just curiosity, the reason I'm saying this is that curiosity and helping people deepen into certain processes doesn't come always through questions. Sometimes it does. At other times, just making a statement of I see your tears, or, and again, hypothetical.
So I love that. So we'll see, ladies and gentlemen, if I just walk onto stage tonight and I look at the first thing we do is we establish eye contact and we just look at each other and see if we just get something just by looking at them. But if I were to walk out and say, I see your tears, how do you think that scene's going to go?
End up being amazing.
Could be. Now, the follow-up to that, and another thing we've learned in improv is, so that saying something just created a world for these two people. I see your tears. Now we want to know, oh my God, how much do I want to know about these two guys, or a guy and a girl, these two people? How much do I want to know? How much do I want to hear? I see your tears. Man, I'm so glad you're here. I've missed you. Right. Now game on, right? And you felt that full body shiver, right? You just, like improv isn't always funny. It's meant to be real and evocative. So here's the little black belt piece to that. And we call it, if that's true, what else is true? So if it's true that what did we learn from just these two things? One, it's emotional. Two, it's they know one another. One, it's been a while since they've seen one another. So if that's true, what else might be true in this world? Because we're world building.
Right.
If that's true, what else is true?
And the what else is true is that's the piece where pure, unapologetic, unadulterated curiosity comes in.
Bingo.
It's
Ladies
like,
and gentlemen, that's our show. That is exact. I was, if you were watching me, that I was using my Obi-Wan-ness to get you to say exactly that, because that's exactly right.
yeah, that's exactly what happened. So both of our invite to everybody who is seeing this is allow yourself to be curious.
Oh my God, Dewey Freeman, you're the best. Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you, sir.
how lucky am I to get to work with you every week?
The exact same amount that I'm lucky to work with you every week.
I love you, my friend.